Welcome to the Infinity Bros podcast, the only podcast that's perfectly balanced as all things should be. My name is Isaac Edlin. I'm one of the 6 Infinity Bros, and with me today I have a very special guest. It is the one true nerd king, Phil Taylor. How you doing, Phil?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me. I sincerely appreciate it. Yeah, I'm getting over a little bit of a cold, so you can probably hear a little bit of hoarseness in my voice.
Yeah, me too. So if you guys hear some coughing, you're just going to have to buck up and get through it, because it's both of us coming for both of us right now.
We will do our best to mute and pull all those things out of any recording post.
Yeah, it's that time of year, it's going around. So
yeah,
unfortunately, but we are very happy to have you on, Phil.
Thank you.
We talked a little bit on our Patreon exclusive portion. If you want to, for as little as $2 a month, you can subscribe to our Patreon for unedited access to our podcast episodes and other exclusive content. It is well worth it. From patron Scott Higa. He really likes to listen to us shoot the breeze and hang out. So you can check that out on the link in the show notes. Phil, before we kind of get rolling here, I did want you to tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and we'll definitely have some links in the show notes to your content as well. But who is one true nerd king?
Very sad, man. Hello, my name is Phil. I'm a Cancer. I like long walks in the park. Hands. I don't know. I kind of came. I came to the social media community as a place to escape, and also as a bit of like a almost like a dare, right? I was a part of a 2-person set that was trying to do something similar to what I'm doing now, and he told me, he's just like, listen, I'm the face of the franchise. I'm the voice of the community. People trust me. You just do the computer stuff. Be the man at the chair. Just, do that job. I've got this. Hold my beer kind of thing. Because nobody will ever trust you the way they trust me. Look at me, Phil. I have over 3,000 followers. You will never be able to be trusted like this. 61,000 followers later, you
boom. Yeah, there you go.
So that was the dare, right? And in all honesty, it was, but what brought me even before that, though, to comics was, a love of that with my daughter. We would read comics together, and I took a job in streaming and video production, and I wanted to learn more about it. And the best way to learn about it was to jump in and just start to do it, right? And not and not to experiment with other people's money and other people's things. I decided to just tinker with my own, and I got an Instagram account, and I started messing around with streaming and going live and making reels and doing posts, and one thing led to another, and I've been blessed to get to go to like different comic conventions and be guests at things and get to meet people like you and jump in on other shows, and it's been fantastic. I make memes, I do jokes, I do silly reels, I drop news. I am the other half. I'm the more tech half of a relationship with a good friend of mine, Rage Theo, who is a seller, and we do go to sell collections on site for different people that are looking to move large amounts of books, because a lot of people have to go through consignment, or they sell to a shop, or they sell to somebody, they don't really make the money that they could have. And we go out and we bring our Instagram communities with us, and we help them find those buyers, So I'm kind of, I guess I can't say I'm not a seller anymore, because I participate in that as the other half. But generally, though, I don't have my whatnot page. I don't have an eBay page. I don't sell my own stuff on Instagram on my own account. I'm a part of a dynamic duo more of the Robin in that aspect. I will say too. Theo's definitely the Batman. But yeah, I'm just here for the funds, man. I like creating content. I love comics. I love nerd culture. I'm a huge sci-fi fan. I'm a big Trekker. I am a huge Star Wars fan. As my friends would say, if it has the word star in it, Phil loves it. Star Galactica, Stargate, Star
Everything
Trek,
star.
Last Starfighter, whatever. If it's got the word
that.
star in it, Phil's there,
Phil's there.
and something to that effect.
There you go.
I'm just that kind of a geek. I remember growing up wanting to be an astronaut, and I had a big old mural of the Discovery on the back of my wall as a child, so space was always it for me. So sci-fi I was there for, and comics kind of came along with that. So I'm a sci-fi nerd first, and I'm a comic books one second, but I'm definitely there.
Along for the ride. Nice.
Yeah.
And we love your content. That's how we came across you the first time, is reels on Instagram. We started getting into, TikTok reels, YouTube shorts, all that kind of stuff a couple of years ago as well. And, came across your content, and you make some amazing, awesome, funny content. So we're glad to have you on the show and finally get to meet you. So thank you for joining us.
It's an honor. Yes, I do appreciate it. I remembered finding your page a long while back and thinking to myself, you know what? If I keep on working on this crap, one day I can be a guest on podcasts like this, because I'm never going to have the cojones to do a show on my own or anything like that, and maybe I'll get to be friends with guys like this, and I'd be a guest on a show. And
Well,
here I am.
You did it.
Here I
made it.
I made it. This is the mountaintop, folks. This is the mountaintop.
Yep.
Peace. I'm out.
That's awesome. We're happy to have you on. So yeah, you can retire after you record this podcast.
I'm done. I'm done. This is it. It does not get higher. This is it. This is it.
Listeners, we are here to review Loki episodes 5 and 6, which we are very excited to talk about. But we do have a few things we want to chat about first. Number one is a segment that I actually didn't prepare you for, Phil. It is our Infinity Gauntlet.
Are you a heel or a baby face? If you could make any flavor Cheez-It, what would it be? Is it pronounced Grogu or Groku? If Keanu Reeves isn't in the movie, can it be star-studded? It's time for the Infinity Gauntlet, here on the Infinity Bros podcast.
So in the Infinity Gauntlet, we put our guests through the gauntlet. We each come up with a question to ask you, and we'll see if you're still standing by the end of the gauntlet.
Oh man, I'm gonna fail this right now. Hold on. Let me pull up Google real fast.
All right,
okay,
yeah. Get it up.
Ready?
Yeah, there you go. Okay, here we go. Number one question. This is from Infinity Bro Max. We actually mentioned this, talked a little bit on the Patreon version about this, but Peter Parker or Miles Morales? That's it. Which one?
Oh, it's really hard nowadays, man, because I am starting to really fall in love with Miles. Because I had Peter for so long.
Yeah.
I do have to say Peter Parker. I do, but it's becoming very close for me.
Right.
I do have a very personal connection with Peter Parker in a story with me and my daughter that we'll avoid, but and that's the only reason why I'm hanging on to it, because I find Miles more interesting and dynamic, right? Because I feel like we've explored everything about Peter.
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
Yep.
So yeah.
And you guys can go back to our Patreon episode to hear more about that, because we had a little chat about that. So
very little chat, little chat.
It could have been longer, but if we spent all the time talking about the things that we like to on this, I mean, we could be talking for hours and hours. So
and divorce,
we had to cut
and have nothing else to live for, because everybody would have left us, and we're still here talking.
And we're still here.
We're still here, ladies and gentlemen. She left me. I have no dog that took the truck. Everything's gone. But we're ready to move on now to Spider-Man 2099, played by.
Here's episode 190 of the Infinity Bros podcast, your 27-hour episode, just where we continually talk about all the things. Anyways, number 2. This is from Infinity Bro Mark, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
This is interesting because this is something I was going to talk to you about nerd news. But fan cast the Fantastic Four for the MCU and pick 2 villains and cast them as well.
Okay, number one, 100% has to be Henry Cavill as Doctor Doom.
Ooh,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. I don't everything else can be anything else. All right. There is nothing to the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe without Doctor Doom.
Oh my
Doctor
gosh.
Doom is the most pivotal casting to anything. I don't care who the fuck's Wolverine. I don't care who the fuck is going to be Magneto. I don't care who's going to be Mr. Fantastic. I don't care who's going to be the new Iron Man. Doctor Doom has to be it. So, Doctor Doom, Henry Cavill. I mean, he's got
that
the
choice.
grace, the looks, the elegance that Doom had. Victor was this pompous, pious, beautiful man that gets scarred, and he's so ashamed. He's always hiding behind a mask. Yes, I know nobody wants to hide Henry Cavill behind a mask, but nobody would want to really do that with Ryan Reynolds. And here we are.
Yeah.
So it can work. All right.
Mm-hmm.
But Henry's got that build and stature. Doom is no small shirk of a man.
Right.
He is a
He's intimidating
dude. You get scared when you see him in that outfit. You can't just throw anybody in there. So yeah, Henry Cavill, number 1. It would appear that Pedro Pascal has been cast as Mr. Fantastic.
That was the news going around today. So
well, that wasn't the rumor. Comicbook.com just reported Pedro Pascal as cast, as official.
Wow.
So I don't know. We will have to see. We'll have to see what it is. That's
with all the stuff that we've just had going around with the casting of Fantastic Four. I'm okay with just sitting on that and waiting until we get some.
Yeah. Oh no,
confirmation from somebody.
I'm okay waiting. I'm okay waiting. But yeah, I if I had to choose, I really loved the guy. He did that. He's doing that show on Netflix where he's stalking that girl. At any rate, I can't. He's basically a stalker. I can't remember what it's called now, so we're just gonna skip past it.
Okay.
And I'm running short on everybody else's names as far as actors go and actresses. I just know what they played in, right? The girl from Mission Impossible, to play Mrs. Fantastic. I mean, these aren't fan casts, these are also supposed casting rumors. What's his name, who was Eddie in Stranger Things, who died? He'll be Johnny Storm or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think if I had to cast another Fantastic Four villain, Mole Man, Danny DeVito.
I love that one. That's great.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that definitely needs to happen.
Honestly, I really Fantastic Four. I mean, you see it on my. Okay, I do care about
the actual casting of the Fantastic Four. Whatever, but we need Henry Cavill as Doom, and we need Danny DeVito as Mole Man. That's all that matters.
Those would be the 2 best guys to play.
Oh my gosh,
that
would be so funny though. Danny DeVito as Mole Man. Oh my gosh.
Even if it's just like he just digs up at the just like in the Incredibles, he just comes up at the wrong place.
Out, right?
He pops up. He's like, "Damn it, wrong spot!" Even if it's just that,
it just goes right back down.
I would be okay with it. It'd be hilarious. Those are my
100% in on that. That sounds incredible. All right, here we go. Another one is from Infinity Bro Jarrett. You're in charge of making a new flavor of Game Fuel. What is it? So I don't know if you're familiar with Game Fuel. That's like the Mountain Dew, kind of energy drink.
Okay,
I guess. So energy drink. Let's say energy drink. If you're making a new flavor of energy drink, what is it?
Strawberry watermelon.
Okay.
That's
solid. Are you a sweet guy? Do you like the really, really sweet sodas, or are you more of a
Dude, I'm a Guinness guy, right? I drink lagers. I
I'm
like
with you.
dark beers. I
That's
hate
me too.
hoppy beers. Like if you come at me with an IPA, I'm gonna stick it where I don't pee afterwards. But
Wow, it sounds like you're describing me right now.
you know, I enjoy a Mountain Dew once in a blue moon, but it like gives me a sore throat now that I've gotten
Mhm.
older because I know that I just shouldn't drink them anymore. But
It hurts my teeth now that I'm old.
there
Like
was
just
one cider. It was a pear cider that I used to drink back in Britain when I would go back, and it was I can't remember, but it's a pear cider with strawberry in it, and it was freaking amazing. And I'll
sounds
tell you this,
delicious.
my friend, two of those, I can drink like 6 or 7 Guinnesses, pints, no problem. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'3", 280 pounds, big dude, right? And I can put away a few drinks. But man, I remember going to a club on Wine Street in Swansea, and I was introduced to these drinks, and I was just killing them. I mean, I could drink them like water. So they were delicious, fast, and then all of a sudden you are just
Just
0 to 60
I just
hammered.
gone.
Because ciders have a hell of a lot more alcohol than just a
Mhm.
regular beer.
Just
And
hits you all of a sudden.
I'm just being a fool. And yeah, so if I had to make one thing, that it would be
Mhm.
like a pear cider strawberry thing. Like
I
people,
like
you
it.
don't know. It was crazy.
You don't know until you know.
You don't know until you're gone. You don't know until you blacked out, woke up the next day.
Yeah. All right. Last one we have here is from Infinity Bro Zane. He says, if you could prove the existence of a cryptid, which one would you pick and why?
A what?
A cryptid. So like a, like a legendary monster, Bigfoot,
Oh, okay.
Loch
So
Ness
we're
monster,
getting Magic, D&D, like some of the things that
Yeah,
I'm very
sure.
super novice in. Super novice in.
Sure.
So repeat the question for me. I
If
apologize.
you could prove the existence, like if one existed and we're just like searching for it, whatever,
Oh
which
God.
one would you pick and why?
If one monster were to be
Real,
if a
and you could
monster
prove
were-
it,
and I
right?
could prove it. Because most monsters scare the hell out of me.
Not a horror
And
guy.
for good reason, right? Because I am a big dude. I don't get to hide from them very easily, right? And
Nah.
being a big guy as well, I don't run very fast either.
Mhm.
So usually I'm like the first to go down. So I'm going to want to pick something that hopefully isn't going to hate me as much.
True. Yep.
I would actually probably in this case have to pick and hope for the Harry and the Hendersons version of it, but I'd go with Bigfoot just
Okay.
because I would hope for the Harry and the Hendersons version.
Just the happy-go-lucky, just
had to stick his head out the
jokey
window.
Bigfoot. Yeah, I could see that.
Just
That'd be
hope.
fun.
I mean, I'm definitely more the John Lithgow kind of like a-hole guy that would be in there living with him and be super angry about everything all the time. But
You're the straight guy, and Bigfoot's the.
I mean, I don't want a
the goof.
vampire. I mean, I've seen that. I've seen those because I mean, I don't believe in the sparkly vampires. I believe in the vampires, and those aren't the ones
The
that.
real,
Those
real
are going
scary
to look
ones,
at
yeah.
me like a sizzler, right? I'm a buffet.
Like
There's
a
so
meal,
much of
like a
him we
snack.
can eat for weeks, folks. So don't want that. Wolfman. I mean, I guess it's not terrible. 2 to 3 days of every single month. That might be okay.
Yeah,
Maybe
right.
maybe I go back. Maybe I take that. But unfortunately, to prove it, I mean, I'd be somewhere remotely around the area. I just maybe if I could just put a GoPro on him, like people do with their dogs.
Well, and maybe it's kind of the same deal with Bigfoot. Like maybe he's like Teen Wolf, like just super chill, like basically a normal guy when he turns into a werewolf. And
that'd be freaking dope. That
yeah.
would be great. That would
There
be
you go.
great. I'd be okay with that. But I wouldn't want ghosts because I mean, I'm already paranoid about enough things watching me with all the things I do with like social media and video. I don't need to worry about invisible people too. So yeah, no, but no, yeah.
So
I'd
Bigfoot or a werewolf.
Bigfoot or a werewolf. Those are the two things I would go with. I'm not going to go like all Cthulhu or Deep Lores or anything like that. I'd like to steer clear of demigorgons and all the other fun stuff.
Yeah, stuff that's going to eat you immediately when when
Yeah.
it sees you. Yeah.
And
Well, maybe not.
my daughter's just she just went to D&D camp over the summer, so she's looking to
Really?
start
Wow.
try and teach me how to play Dungeons and Dragons finally. I've never
You know,
learned.
okay, I will say, like, I came at Dungeons and Dragons from, you know, almost the same angle as you, like zero, none, no experience at all. And Jarrett, one of our Infinity Bros, is like big D&D guy.
Mhm.
And so he like brought all of us on, like, we basically did a campaign with all of us, and he was like basically the only one with any D&D experience. And it
So
was a
it was
blast,
like
actually.
boot
It was,
camp.
yeah, basically it was a blast. It was really fun. So you kind of got to just roll with it, like just go with, you know, everything that's going on. Otherwise, I feel like it definitely is possible to not enjoy yourself as much as possible.
I
But
just need to find a lot of people to play with. You know, that's pretty much
true.
the trick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe I should just try Baldur's Gate 3 for a little while first, and then a lot of people. I
Maybe.
downloaded it for the PlayStation 5. I have not touched it yet, but I've watched like an hour and a half long
It
tutorial on
looks
how to
great,
start
honestly.
it up.
I've not played it yet, but it looks awesome. I
It
definitely want to
does.
get into it as well too. So
Yeah.
but yeah, that's like basically D&D in video game format. So there you go.
That might be how I learned then. We'll get to work on that. We'll get to work on that.
Yeah, there you go. Well, congratulations, Phil. You made it through the Infinity Gauntlet.
I was really afraid this was going to be like a Q&A thing, and everybody was going to be like, you failed all those questions.
Wrong.
King, he is not. Nerd, maybe still, but
I always threaten people
King,
that
no.
we're going to kick them off the podcast if they don't answer correctly. But, you know, I didn't have to do that for you. So.
Well, I appreciate that. As soon as it kind of became like a one or the other, I'm like, oh, this is opinion. Oh. Okay, we're cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a little kind of get to know you segment for our guests. So there you go. You made it through the Infinity Gauntlet. Welcome to the Infinity Bros podcast, Phil.
Well, thank you very much. I do appreciate being here. I am excited. Hopefully there's gonna be like some background applause in the background when we
some cheering. Exactly. So, and listeners, you are also welcome to the Infinity Bros podcast. We're going to be talking about Loki episodes 5 and 6 and kind of recapping the season a little bit. But first, I do want to make you aware we have a very special rating system.
Here on the Infinity Bros podcast, everything is ranked from a 0 to 6 point scale. 0 meaning horrible and 6 meaning absolutely excellent. If all of the Infinity Bros rank something a 6, it gets an infinity step.
Our rating system is so like out there. One of our guys routinely rates things like 6.9 out of 6. We've had multiple people on our podcast rate things like 0 out of 6. So like it's basically completely arbitrary. But it's just just want you to be aware. Let's get into it. We're going to be talking Loki episodes 5 and 6. This is your official spoiler warning. If you have not seen the show, make sure you pause this and come back and listen to it later.
This is...
Prepare yourself.
An Infinity Bros.
Prepare yourself.
Spoiler. Warning.
All right, before we get going into 5 and 6, I do want to get your opinion on Loki season 1 and then the first half of season 2. What did you think of both of those projects
Phenomenal.
so far?
I think the only thing that was wrong with season 1 was episode 3. It was a little long. I understand the building of it and why it was long, but I still hated it and it sucked. But everything else was fantastic about that season, and the way it ended, it made me extremely excited about Marvel television, because up until that point, all we had is WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, both of which one was good and the other was really not. And
now that you mentioned that, I totally forgot about Falcon and Winter Soldier. I was just thinking like WandaVision straight to Loki, but yeah, I mean,
yeah, it went to Falcon Winter Soldier, man, and that pacing was so crazy, and this was more intellectual. This was more deep. We got to know characters, and I enjoyed it, and I loved season 1. Season 1 was my favorite. It was eclipsed a little bit by Werewolf by Night, and then season 2 happened, and season 2 has made Loki the number one of all things Disney Plus for me, followed closely by Werewolf by Night. And then, we kind of talked on Patreon about all my other rankings of Disney Plus shows.
Mhm.
But yes, on a scale of 1 to 6, Loki is overall a 6 for me.
Love
It is
that.
a 6. It is.
You're counting like season 1 and
ultimate
2
program.
together, like all together. It's a 6.
Well, I'll say all together up until episodes 5 and 6, because we haven't reviewed those yet.
Sure.
Is a 6.
Thank
That
you.
sound good?
Appreciate that. Yeah,
Good?
that's good.
All right.
That's good. Great. I'm pretty much on the same boat. Like, love season 1. I'd say there were maybe like some slight pacing issues, and we've been talking about that with all these Disney Plus Marvel shows. Like, the 6-episode format just wasn't working for them. Plus the fact that they didn't have actual like TV showrunners, a bunch of different combinations kind of played into that factor, I think. But little bit of weird pacing, but I think still overall Loki season 1 was like, I think it was number 2 on my list before season 2 happened. And then I rewatched season 1 before season 2, and I was like, man, maybe this is my favorite Disney Plus project, because I think my other thing up there is Moon Knight. I love Moon Knight, and a lot of people are kind of like, yeah, back and forth on that one. But after rewatching Loki season 1, I was like, dang, this is really good. So I think it is my favorite. And that was before even season 2 started.
Yeah.
So season 2 starts and I'm on the same page. Like, this is phenomenal. Like, great character building. I mean, Tom Hiddleston is incredible. The dude has carried this show to, where we are ranking it right now, like our number 1 Disney Plus project. So pretty amazing. And Werewolf by Night also, by the way, up there for me as well. I love that one as well. If I'm including that, because I always kind of think in terms of like the shows, and then the special presentations are kind of more in the movie category for me. But if I'm ranking Werewolf by Night up there, that one's probably honestly number 1 until season 2 of Loki. So
and that's what it was for
until
me.
asterisk.
Yeah.
So season 2 drops. I mean, first 4 episodes are phenomenal. Episode 4 ends on that big cliffhanger of like, boom, the loom explodes, and we're all like, holy crap. Like, this might be the wildest thing that's ever happened in the MCU since Endgame. Like, this is pretty nuts. So what did you think of that moment leading into episode 5?
I loved it. It felt like that was, to me, the beginning of Secret Wars. I feel like that was an incursion event between us and this other universe that we're going to start really colliding with. That's, to me, is what it was a signal, what it felt like more than anything. And I remember, because that was the episode we did a special episode on in my Comics and Chaos show, and I just remember thinking to myself, I'm like, at that time I was like, Obi's a robot, he's got to be a robot, there's no way he could be there, all this. No, he's totally, whatever. Totally not. Definitely wrong with that one. But I said Loki will survive, and he's going to start this is what makes him start to time skip, and he's got to go find all of his friends. I remember making that prediction. He's got to go assemble the Avengers, the TVA again, and I was so excited. I was finally right about one prediction ever in writing and everything else, but that episode was a fantastic episode. It surprised me. The spaghettification of a character was new to me at that time, and then they went whole hog in the next episodes. Like, all of a sudden everything's spaghettified.
Yeah, right. I know, that was wild. And like, not only was the spaghettification of a character, it was of Victor Timely, who, I don't know about you, but for me, I was like, this guy's got to play an important part in the finale, because like, it's Victor Timely, he's like fixing the loom and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden, boom, dead. And I was like, oh, okay, wow, we're going in a much different direction than I expected. So yeah, that was a wild cliffhanger leading into episode 5. But you mentioned episode 5, so we get into all these different like timelines and stuff like that, and Loki has to basically reassemble everybody into recreate the TVA, I guess.
Yeah.
Basically is what he's trying to do.
TVA team, his TV Avengers.
Avengers. Right. Yeah. And it is so wild too, because like we saw, in trailer leading up to season 2, we saw clips of people kind of like in their variant stage, like, you know, in their own timelines and stuff like that. We get the clip of Owen Wilson Mobius like on the jet ski, like doing the commercial, you know, and stuff like that. So finally all these characters come into play. But the crazy thing is they all have zero recollection or anything of the TVA. They're all from their own timelines doing their own thing. So they all come to this like Ke Huy Quan's base or whatever. And they're like, what the heck are we doing here? Like coming to that, it was just like, how is he gonna recreate this? I just don't understand how this is gonna work.
Yeah, poor OB. It was wonderful storytelling. The characters all had their moment to show what they were like as regular people too. We all got to see everybody as who they were, whether they were a doctor taking care of patients, they were an aspiring writer that's also a college professor, or maybe they're ATV sports and Sea-Doo selling sales guy, or maybe they're one of the few people that escaped Alcatraz. You know, these characters all came from a lot of places, or you're a Asgardian princess hiding as a McDonald's employee. They gave a great opportunity for everybody to get a modicum of depth and humanity that we didn't get to see in them in their roles in the TVA, which was wonderful. And I felt like that was what was special about that episode to me. We got to see what made them tick a little bit.
That was really cool. And just going to those different, like, you know, time periods and stuff like that. I've been saying it from the beginning. You give me a buddy cop show with Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson just jump into different time periods, I'm in. Like, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Give it to me.
And I feel like somewhere in the future in movies, not even Marvel related, somebody's going to do that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, you know, we get, we cast so-and-so. Yeah. Get somebody call so-and-so. I think this could work. We've seen their energy. They can make this work.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. It's going to happen one way or another, whether it's Marvel or somebody else.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It was cool to see him jumping back and forth. One thing that I thought was just hilarious about this episode is that, you know, you get Ke Huy Quan as OB. He, you know, he's just so matter of fact, like he just tells you what it is. He's still that character, just like in a different sense in this. Like one of my favorite lines in this episode is when he's like, oh, you just got to learn to control your time slipping.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, like he is a science fiction writer who has no idea what the TVA is, has never seen any of the science fiction stuff happen in real life. But yet he's like, oh, that's what you got to do. You just got to learn to control it. And Loki's like, okay, I don't think I could do that. But
yeah.
That was fantastic.
But then he does. Spoiler.
Okay, so this is one thing that I thought from moving from 5 to 6, which I'm very satisfied with how 6 ended. So this didn't detract from my viewing of it or anything. But like when we were in episode 5 and Loki's finally learning to control his time slipping, I was almost kind of like, man, this feels like a little cheaty. He's like, oh man, I could just do whatever I want. I just control the time slipping. And I was like, man, it almost feels like a little bit reductive. Like I feel like they could come up with a better complex like way to end the season. But then obviously like episode 6 rolls around and like it played out perfectly and I didn't care at all about that. But in episode 5 I was like, man, this is almost getting a little too timey-wimey, and up to that point they had handled all the time stuff very well, in my opinion. And you as like a science fiction guy, did you feel like they've handled that pretty well throughout the whole Loki in season 1 and 2? Because they handled, they did time stuff in season 1 too, but
I feel like time guy that hates time stuff because I feel like it's lazy.
Exactly. That's what I'm kind of getting at.
I hate time stuff because it feels like it's lazy. And I'm one of those people, and unfortunately other people have heard me say it, but I'm one of those people that thinks the Russo brothers screwed up the MCU with Endgame.
Wow. Okay.
They introduced time travel, bro. They introduced time travel. They killed Tony. They made Captain America old. They killed Black Widow, and they gave us Professor Hulk. And they,
They did a lot of things.
and they made Brie Larson this wooden plank, just coming in, and I blame the Russo brothers for everything that's wrong with Marvel right now.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Nobody ever wanted to hear me 5 years ago when I was complaining about this. Like, we should just reboot.
now
I love the
everybody's on
movie.
board.
I love the movie, but I didn't like that we didn't reboot afterwards, right?
Right.
So I'll get back to anyways. But I do not like time travel. But I loved the characters in this story. And I liked how that this place operated outside of time. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So that means there were some rules that were going to get at play.
Right.
Until the I can reboot the system. Oh, god damn.
Yeah, right. I know. It just kind of felt like it fell into they were doing a really good job of following their own rules until that happened. And then it was like, oh, okay. Well,
it was like, well, I can reboot her.
Oh,
you can't. But by the way, and then you can use magic too. The fuck? It was just like, it was like, wait. There's just been. Have you tried turning it on and off again? So Obi's had all this time. Have you tried turning it on and off again? The number one cardinal rule of anybody that's ever worked customer support in IS.
Yep.
Number one thing. Have you tried turning it on and off again? He's had that at his disposal the entire time, and it doesn't become clear to him. It doesn't become clear to him until that what?
Right.
Episode 3, episode 4.
Just very convenient.
I'm like, man, that's what that made me mad. But at any rate, I kind of laughed at it because I was still having fun. I enjoyed the show. So I didn't feel like their version of time travel and all the things that they were doing was lazy. I did not feel that way at all. But there was a couple of cop-outs in there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do agree with that. Yeah. But overall, I'm not a time travel dude.
I get that. I feel like you mentioned it doesn't always have to be this way. Like, it can be well written. But it so often is used as a cop-out, basically, to, cover plot holes.
Yeah.
I was kind of starting to lean that way. But when episode 6 rolled around, I was like, yeah, okay. All right. That could be forgiven.
I'm going to let it go.
We're going to let it slide. Yeah,
I'm going to let this one not be something I pay attention to right now.
Yeah, agreed. So episode 5 is good. Not my favorite of the series. I think episode 4, going from episode 4, bang, amazing. Episode 5 is really good. It was really good. On our rating system, I think I'd still give that a 5, or maybe even pushing 5.5 out of 6. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a perfect episode. Really solid.
It was definitely up there. It was in that 5.5 range for me as well. It was definitely close. It was that last little hump. Right. It was that last little bump in the road. It was that last little thing he had to climb up and over, to realize what he has to do, which is the last episode, which is episode 6, which is yes, I would consider it a 5.5. I'm good with that.
And moving into episode 6, which, I mean, okay, as far as Marvel Disney Plus series, I feel like that was an issue I mentioned before. They were trying to cram a lot into these 6 episode formats. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it was just like, man, you should have just went ahead and made a movie. Mm-hmm. I just didn't fit very well, or extended it to 8 or 10 episodes, which WandaVision, I don't feel like had, that problem necessarily. That WandaVision had other problems, but pacing and everything was not their issue. Mm-hmm. You get to Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, Hawkeye even, and Falcon and Winter Soldier. I feel like they suffered from that issue. Mm-hmm. But Loki, I feel like they did a pretty dang good job of having a good vision through the first and second season. Mm-hmm. You can tell that they could at least map out the second season while they were writing the first season as well. They connected perfectly. I mean, we saw that going from episode 6 of the first season to the premiere of episode 2. They like happened like right there, like picked up right off the bat. And I think they did a really good job at wrapping this up in
Yeah.
a very satisfying way, which again, can't really say that for a lot of these series.
No.
So where does this finale specifically sit for you on the whole scope of the finales of Disney Plus Marvel shows?
This is something we talked about a little bit earlier on your Patreon as well. This is 14 years in the making, right? While this was a resolution that furthered a greater story in the MCU in many ways, shapes, or forms, it took Tom Hiddleston's Loki 14 years to reach true redemption. Did he technically redeem himself in a myriad of ways as well at the beginning of Infinity War when he dies and he's trying to say, but that was also Loki being Loki. It was playing with the betrayals and hopefully wink wink nudge nudge, I'll get out of this time, brother, and he doesn't, and then that sucks. But
Yeah.
this was a lot of character development. This was a lot of parts and pieces coming to an end in a satisfying way where he got to at the same time to kind of ride off into the sunset, right? Which we don't get with a lot of characters. A lot of our characters have to die, have to grow old or disappear, or like be just like thrown somewhere off on the side. He is doing a job. The job he is doing. He's taking that on. He's walking away, and he's got it. He's got it handled. And that was an ending that we had not seen so far in the MCU. Nobody's been given that kind of a send-off.
Right.
Captain America had to disappear and grow old with Peg. What is that like? And watch all the shit happen that happened. He had to watch that. You mean Captain America watched that all happen, right? And
we could have some great conversations about that. I feel
Tony
like, but
died.
for another time,
right? He knew he was going to be hitting on his niece. He's making out with her. He knew like all the things he watched and let happen. All these things that we've had over these last few years. These lack of happy end, these lack of moments. Loki was the first one to get a happy ending, in some way, shape, or form. It wasn't even really happy. It was happy to him. He got happiness knowing that this was his ending. Right? That was special to him. He knew he saved his friends. This was the one way that everyone wins.
Right?
Because his goal was to never be alone. He didn't want to die alone. He didn't want to die alone. But at the same time, too, he learned, though, that it was worse. The only thing worse than dying alone was watching all your friends die, and knowing you could have saved them. And that's when Loki went selfless. And I loved it. I loved the arc. I loved the direction it took. The cinematography was tremendous. There was lots of emotion and feeling in every scene. I loved the lighting. I loved the coloring. And I love the thought too that is Loki the reason why the time stone's green? When you look back and you see him pulsating through everything and it's that green that's
right.
You just
kind of reviving
like,
the branches there. Yeah.
Is the time stone green because Loki's green? Is that
maybe
that it?
Control his time slipping. You learn to control other people apparently, because when we're in that scene with He Who Remains, when he's having that conversation with multiple times, apparently he also stops Sylvie as well. So it's like, oh,
yep. Everybody's like, oh, you haven't figured that out yet? He's just like, first of all, I did. And what makes you think this was the first time we've had this conversation?
Oh man, he had some good lines in that.
Yeah. And that's when he was just like, oh, yeah. Okay, I can be real now.
Okay, yeah. Because up until this point, like Jonathan Majors Kang, I have loved his He Who Remained, loved Victor Timely.
Yeah.
Kang and Ant-Man, I liked him too, but like not to the extent that I've liked these guys in Loki. Yeah, I thought that was a really cool moment because like he's intimidating. He's intimidating as He Who Remains, and not too much Victor Timely. That's not really his like character, but
I loved how he could mock himself too, though.
yeah, right. Like, and then yeah, he gets to that moment and he's like, oh, okay, that's the first time he's taken aback in this whole series. Like, he knows everything up until that point, and he's like, oh, okay, now we're really talking. That was a really cool reveal.
Yeah.
But I think what I like about going from 5, what I mentioned in 5 is that he learns to control the time slipping. You kind of think like, it's almost a little bit of a cheat code. He does this, and that's something I think they could have maybe emphasized a little bit more, but he mentions multiple times that he's done this hundreds of times, thousands of times. He's potentially been doing it for hundreds of years.
Yes.
Because he says
learning all those things.
Yeah, he says to OB, like, hey, how long would it take me to learn everything about physics, everything about, everything basically. And OB's like, decades, centuries, maybe, like, I don't know, a really long time. So potentially Loki's been at this for a very, very long time. Yeah. So it's not like he just learned time slipping and boom, solved the problem.
No.
That's where I was like, okay, like, I can forgive the time slipping, timey-wimey stuff.
Watch all that either,
Right. See, that was what I would have liked to see a little bit of that, just to prove it to us that, like, hey, this wasn't just like fixing the problem, boom, like it kind of ended up looking like in the episode. He was at this for a while.
Yeah.
If we showed that a little bit more, that would have been all right with me. But overall, still phenomenal that they wrapped it up in a satisfying way instead of just kind of copping out, basically.
Very satisfying way. I was blown away. That to me was a 6. It was a 6. I know you haven't asked for the score yet. I'm just going to beat you to it.
Nope, that's fine, because that's right where I'm at too. That was definitely a 6 out of 6.
I hope
best finale, I think, out of all of Disney Plus shows, and by far, honestly, it's not really close, because a lot of the other finales were just not satisfying. They're just
all frantic.
Right.
We're all trying to wrap up all these
trying to cram so much stuff into like 50 minutes of, this episode. And just, man, it just does not end up satisfying you with how all of the shows went. And this one it did a really good job.
I agree. 100%.
You mentioned the moment that he goes out there, he's grabbing all the like strands, all the timelines and stuff like that, reviving them. And he like grows back his like OG, which I'm assuming is OG Loki uniform or whatever. That was like so cool, because he's got the giant horns. Like, you see him in like, I think it's the original Avengers, where he's got like his gold helmet on and the horns are pretty big. Like,
the ones that we saw in the variant, the place beyond.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, classic Loki. Yeah, he's got the big horns, and those look cool. But like, man, when we get to this, it's like, this is like giant horns, and they're like made out of like some ember rock, something or other. Yeah. Like, they look sweet.
Yeah,
I love that he was just like grabbing all of them, and his suit just is slowly like materializing on him. That was just such an epic moment, dude.
It was a wonderful transition. They did a great job on that episode, that moment, that march.
Yeah.
His march to coming into to becoming who he was meant to be, who Odin wanted him to be. I mean, truth is, Odin raised 2 good boys, maybe the wrong ways, and they both had to go figure a lot of these lessons out on their own. It's like Freya too would also give Loki so much flack, and a lot of people hate on Thor: The Dark World, but that's really Loki's origin story movie. You can look at it, Thor 1 was the one where we got Thor's origin story. And yes, Loki's fall there, but Loki's redemption, where we find out Loki can be more than what we know him to be. And that's in Thor 2. That's in the Dark World.
Yeah.
And that to me is Loki's origins, because I remember when the first season of Loki was coming out, I didn't know if I was going to enjoy it. I wasn't sure. I had a hoodie, but I wasn't sure. And so I decided, you know what? I'm just going to watch the Thor movies again and see how I feel about it. And I remembered getting to Thor 2, and I watched it. And then when the episode started, I was like, oh my god, that was from the movie, that was from the movie, that was from the movie. And the entire time I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm hearkening back with my friend who has never watched that movie since it first came out, because everybody was just like, this is the worst movie in the MCU up until that point in time, right? This was the dog of Marvel.
Yeah.
And it was, and nobody wanted to admit that it existed. And I remembered always being able to call that out, because I remember seeing it recently just before the series started. And all of my friends that did go back and watched it, now there's like, it does, like, it's not the Dark World. It's not about Malekith. It's not about Thor. It's about Loki. And if you watch it like that, there's a whole new appreciation for that movie. All of a sudden, it's not the worst movie anymore. It's
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Interesting. I'm going to have to go back and watch it in that light, because I also was on that train that Dark World is one of my least favorite MCU movies. So.
Watch it and just think of it as this is Loki's origin story, and you're going to watch. And granted, he's not in it as much as Thor. No, of course not. But you have to see him. He's mad. He's angry. He's caught. He's broken. He's falling apart. He lost. He killed his mother, like the one person that believed in him. And then he does save his brother. And yes, he pretends to be dead, but he does save his brother. And he does the good Loki. All of a sudden, just like, he's not completely lost.
Right.
That was the origin of the Loki that we end up getting, that turns into big horns Loki, the king of stories. So yeah, at any rate.
So cool. Yeah, definitely an incredible ending to a very good series. And I mean, you mentioned this episode as a 6. Overall, season 2 of Loki, what would you rate that?
6.
Oh, it's 6. Yeah.
Right. Loki season 2 is what made Loki season 1, Loki's period, the best thing to happen on Disney Plus, right? If I had to rate them insularly of themselves, I would probably give it similar to what we had between 5 and 6, episodes 5 and 6, a 5.5 and a 6. Because I did not like one of the episodes very much. It was episode 3. It was really slow and boring. But everything else was fantastic, right? I just watched them sitting on a rock and get stranded. That sucked.
It's threw off the pacing of that season so badly. It was really strange.
And this was the 3rd series too, and we'd seen that happen in WandaVision. We'd seen it happen a lot in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And as soon, because at first 2 episodes, I was doing a live every single day after the episode came out with my friend Hero Harrison. And we would go live after every episode. And I remembered looking at him after the first 2 episodes and was like, dude, did we just get again? And he's just like, what do you mean? It's like, that was the worst episode ever. I feel like there goes the Marvel Disney Plus pacing again, where it's all over the place and they don't know how to spread these things out. Like, I hope I'm wrong, but man, I might not. I was so upset at the end of this episode, I might not watch another one. And he's just like, no, you can't do that. We got people want to see us talk about it next week. Well, fine. I was that guy. I was the negative Nancy. And dude, I have to tell you, I have never been bored with an episode since of Loki, period. Yeah. I mean, everything else is still, like you were saying, it's all over the place. You never know what you're going to get any episode. That was the one episode that I didn't get what I wanted out of it. And so that's why I would say that was a 5.5 season. But this was 100% a 6. This moves that up to being untouchable to me in my Disney Plus time.
I'm with you, man. I would also give this season a 6 out of 6. And if I'm being completely honest, I'm pretty much with you on if you had to rate them separately, I think I'd give Loki season 1 a 5.5 as well, coming into it, just because, I mean, man, but you put those together, if I'm rating Loki as a show, it's really hard not to give it a 6 out of 6 because of that vision from season 1 to season 2 that just seems so complete, as opposed to even some of the just one season runs of these other shows. So, man, I'd give this one a 6 out of 6 for sure. It was phenomenal. Everything that we wanted, I feel like. And I don't know, it was such a good ending too, where like Tom Hiddleston did say in an interview that like, hey, this is a great cap to my run as Loki. And he later clarified that he's probably not done as Loki, but like overall, what a great character arc that he's had in these 14 years in the MCU. Yes. And if it were the last time we ever saw him,
He went on a
honestly,
good
it'd be
note.
fine.
Yeah.
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 He like you said, he rode off into the sunset, and we don't really see that with characters in the MCU. So
No.
yeah, really satisfying ending for Loki if it is. And I do think we're going to see him in Secret Wars, because they're going to bring everybody back for Secret Wars. Like it's it's going to be a wild movie.
King Dynasty just lost its director. They've been talking about ditching
Jonathan Majors.
Again a lot.
You know, even if they did ditch Jonathan Majors, I hope they don't ditch King as a character, because I feel like he's got a good character base going right now.
Mhm.
And I would be a little sad if they deviated from that. I think there's a lot of things they could do, but I think honestly they could just recast and, be fine.
I think they should recast if they had to.
If they had to, right. At this point, like, I've mentioned on previous podcasts, like they're not going to do anything until like something happens with Jonathan Majors, because they made that mistake with James Gunn.
Yeah.
And man, just imagine
Disney's not doing that again.
Yeah, they're not making that mistake again. So they'll keep Jonathan Majors in the mix until something is definitive.
I agree with that.
So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But either way, I really hope King stays a focal point in this. But yeah, with Daniel Critton exiting as director of King Dynasty, it definitely looks like something is stirring.
I think it's because Doom's on the way. Doom is a master of
if
time.
If Doom takes over as Kang's character, I'm fine with that too, because I want Doom so much.
That's just what I mean, right? Doom's an everyday bad guy. Yeah. Doom's in every aspect of the game bad guy, right? Yeah. He'll with Doctor Strange, he'll Guardians of the Galaxy, with Fantastic Four,
equally across the board.
Spider-Man he is an equal opportunity villain, right?
Yes.
There is nobody that he does not give grief to, and there's no place that's not talented to him. So, he is a statesman. He's got his own embassies, just like Wakanda gets. He is a master of technology. He is a master of the dark arts and any arts. He is a master tactician. He is one of the he's like one of the smartest people alive. Second to read. I mean,
jack of all trades, man. He can do it all.
He's gonna be trouble. Yeah. So I'd be okay with it. Yeah, that's why when people are just like, oh, but King deserves it, like, I don't really care. King was kind of a C-list villain to begin with. I see what we were going for. Jonathan Majors is a good actor. Hopefully he's not a bad person, and we can keep him. But if not, I'm okay with Doom. I'm okay with Doom all day. And if it's Henry Cavill, I will lose my...
Oh my gosh, that would be incredible.
That is the one thing that I have stand for every single person to be cast. That is the one thing that ever since I thought of, I saw him, and I saw Doom with his arms like this.
Oh my gosh!
I remember just scrolling through the internet, and I remember seeing a Superman of Henry Cavill like that. I'm like, oh my god, he'd be awesome.
Light bulb.
Yeah, that's when I was just like, that would be so cool. And then somebody else had already mentioned it too, so I'm just like,
of course.
Original. Yeah, but I was just like, it would work, and I have stand that casting ever since. And if it's somebody else, okay, whatever, I'm still going to see it. But
same.
Be honest. Yep. But yeah, so
love it, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Phil. Where can you, our listeners, find you on the internet?
I'm primarily on Instagram as _true_nerd_king. You can also find me on YouTube at Comics in Chaos, or on my own. I do have my own YouTube, but I'm not really doing anything with it yet. But you can definitely find me on Comics in Chaos. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Threads. I'm on Twitter. I'm on all the things, all the places. So just look for me. You'll find me. But Instagram is definitely the place where I am the most.
Awesome. And all of your links will be in show notes for our listeners to check you out as well. So thank you so much for joining us today, man. It's been a blast.
It was an honor, brother. I really sincerely appreciate it. And to the rest of the guys that weren't here, hopefully I'll get to meet them again some other time.
For sure.
And to everybody listening, thank you guys for humoring me and allowing me to join your favorite people this week and have a great time. So thank you so much.
And listeners, wherever you're listening, however you're listening, thank you so much for making us a part of your podcast experience. We love you 3000, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Infinity Bros podcast. You can find the Infinity Bros on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube at the Infinity Bros. You can also check out our website at theinfinitybros.com for links, reviews, and sweet merch. Feel free to send listener feedback via social media or email at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com.